think like Fusaka is kind of the biggest upgrade in that. As kind of
from our perspective, it would effectively enable a far better base layer for L2s.
Where no, there's actually a more robust version of this that we're talking about.
Today's guest is Dankrad Feist, one of Ethereum's leading researchers and a key figure driving the protocol's long-term roadmap. Since joining the Ethereum Foundation in 2019, he's helped shape critical advancements in data availability, scalability, and the future of Ethereum's core architecture. Dankrad Feist, a driving force behind Ethereum's evolution.
That's your baby, man.
In a way, yes. Right.
Welcome back to the Rollup.
This is your home to learn from the biggest guests, the brightest minds at the tip of innovation.
Our goal is to help spread the collective knowledge of everyone in our community.
We are breaking crypto out of its echo chamber and taking it to the real world.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy it. All right, guys, welcome back. We are day 2 live on Rollup TV from DevConnect. We've got Dankrad Feist up next. We have a ton to talk about. We've heard so many things from different Ethereum builders. Dankrad is the father of Danksharding. I'm looking at him right now. I hope he's fired up. We're going to talk PeerDAS. We're going to talk Tempo. We're going to talk stablecoins. We're going to talk fast Finality. Get into the tech. Really looking forward to learning. When we came here, we set out to learn from some of the smarter people in the industry. That's been the entire kind of philosophy.
That's been the mission since we started, was talk to people smarter than us so that we could learn and we could bring everyone along for the journey as well.
Dankrad, please come join the show. Thank you for joining. It's a pleasure to see you in person.
Hey there.
Cheers.
Good to meet you in person. Hey there. Thanks for coming on.
I think last we had you on, you were calling in from what looked like a movie theater in somewhere in Europe. How are you enjoying Buenos Aires?
It's really great here. Yeah, it's amazing.
Is it your first time?
It is my first time in Argentina. Yes, yeah. Spent a few weeks in San Martin at Edge City before. That was
very cool.
Yeah, I've heard those events. They put on a really good show and they do a good job, and it feels really community oriented and yeah.
Man, I think the last time that we spoke on the show, you were still part of the Ethereum Foundation. I think now you're still part of it, but at maybe a higher level, and you have a new role at Tempo. Could you talk us through the transition? Why did you choose to make that move, and kind of what led up to it? Tell us the story.
I mean, for me, it's when I started talking to like the Tempo people and Matt Huang, it was just became pretty clear to me that this is currently one of the best, if not the best, opportunity out there to get stablecoin payments on chain and at scale, and like actually touching billions of people's lives. And I mean, I think like currently I do think like Ethereum is like on a much better path than last year, but currently I think overall, actually, this is not just Ethereum. The whole blockchain ecosystem has kind of somewhat ignored the payment side of things, and is actually maybe a lot of people thought it was too boring or something. But I think like right now, it's actually when I looked at it, I was like, wow, this is like such a huge opportunity, and like missing that would just be like, I think, a catastrophe for the whole crypto space. Like the opportunity is there, and like we need to execute to like get in there now.
Dankrad, there's billions and billions of dollars on Ethereum now, but you chose to go to Tempo because they saw this vision very clearly, and like you said, Matt Huang was able to articulate it. What was it that Matt said that really convinced you to join Tempo?
I think overall, I mean so Tempo is not just Matt Huang. It's like it came out of an initiative of like not just Stripe and Paradigm Act, but actually many other companies that were out there were like, we want to do something with stablecoin payments right now that had concrete applications, not like companies that were like, oh, we want to do something on chain. No, like they really had like, okay, these are like the pain points, and like we need a solution now. And that's really what convinced me, because like I think this is about like, solving these problems rather than like continuing to work somewhere in the basement and like trying to just like, I don't know, like make crazy things like work in some way. Like it's nice, but I think that's not where we are right now anymore in the crypto space. Like we have found this product market fit, and like someone needs to actually execute and do it.
Man, we heard, I can't remember who it was, Dankrad, but they said the term research fetish.
Oh, that was Hanan from Codex.
As if, and so Codex
So
is
who was
probably
it?
Hanan from Codex. The similar idea, right? Probably a lot of the similar frame of thought. And I think you're right. And it's quite funny that we had payments and remittances 7 years ago in crypto. We had stablecoins were just kind of coming out slowly, but it was like these unsexy, kind of albeit boring use cases that are now coming to the forefront again. And so you see this as a way to make this impact and really kind of take this industry to a more practical adoption phase. What is going to be your role at Tempo? What job do you want to play there, and how will you make your mark?
I see myself already now as a protocol architect. I kind of like dropped the title researcher more or less in my work, because I think like a lot of things, and nothing against research, and I did some research at the ETH as well, but I think like right now there are not that many things that like need this kind of like academic research focus. It's still appropriate for many things, but I think like also we just need to be much more clear that like there are many things that are possible now. And like, research fetish was like an interesting, I do think like the Ethereum ecosystem was somewhat guilty of falling into that trap where like basically like maybe like 10 years ago, it was all about research. There were so many things like we didn't understand, and that's not really quite true anymore. And now you need, I would say, like the full spectrum. And before, like, and we fixed that at the Ethereum Foundation to some extent this year. Like we kind of like stopped having this very big and kind of almost academic research team and like integrated everything together with the engineering teams, which is a really great idea. But yeah, like basically we need to realize that now we need the full spectrum of things. We need all the intermediate roles and as well who like are actually implementing that research, and that's like engineers, research engineers, and architects and so on.
Do you think there's a world, and I'd imagine that you do, where there is successful Tempo is successful and Ethereum is successful? What is your bigger vision for what this space becomes as a whole, right? Like Ethereum, the role it plays, and Tempo, the role it plays. Could you describe the world you see, into the future in which both of these sustain?
Almost certainly. Right now, I don't even like with what Ethereum's focus is now. If you look at the reality of what happens on the Ethereum chain and including most L2s, then there's almost zero overlap with Tempo. Like these are almost disjoint sets. So I don't know. Like, a lot of people hear, oh, it's an L1, and then for them it's like automatically competitive. But if you look at the market dynamics, actually there's almost zero competition. Like Ethereum's main business is DeFi, and Tempo at the moment is not trying to do any DeFi. And we might at some point, I think like what makes most sense is of course all kinds of stablecoin adjacent things like Forex and so on. That's years into the future, and again, is not something that's kind of currently big on Ethereum. So I think like I don't see them as competitive at the moment, like almost at all. It's also like Tempo's not trying to launch its own currency in a way. Like it might have a token at some point, but it will have quite a different role from Ether. So I think there will be synergies for sure. So like basically, if you think about it, in the end, like people talked a lot about network effects. And the one type of network effects we definitely have in crypto is like every crypto user is kind of a good thing. Because like once they are somewhere in the crypto ecosystem and have some capital, they can bridge it anywhere very easily. Like the hardest part is still even getting them on there at all. And so from that perspective, like Tempo is kind of good for everyone, maybe except anyone who's like themselves directly focused on payments.
As protocol architect there, we've had this thesis on the Rollup for at least the last 18 months, which has been just around like the purpose-built nature of blockchains going forward, right? We saw the rise of the general purpose or universal chains in 2020, 2021, 2022, all L1s, Ethereum, you name it. And then we kind of really saw this specialization kick in where we saw, a specialized chains now for perp decks, for gaming platforms, for DeFi, Unichain, Hyperliquid, the list goes on. With Tempo, it's very clearly a payments-based chain. What is the technical architecture required to make a highly successful payments-focused chain, and what does that look like from your perspective?
There are just some very clear things, like of things that you want. We want fast finality. you want very high scale for payment specifically, which is like luckily like a little bit easier to achieve than like general purpose compute. You want, and then there are like some basically like details, but that turn out pretty important. Things like basically like that you can pay fees in stable coins, right? Like basically, let's say a huge annoyance if you would have to keep around another currency, and like maybe like account abstraction exists, but it's not quite really like all there yet, everything. And so like having that like really smooth that you can pay, well, depends of course, like, and then it's a little bit easier for those chains that focus on one stable coin, which is not what we want to do. Like we want to be Stablecoin-Neutral, which means like we need to have a mechanism so that you can pay in any stable coin.
Go anywhere on chain instantly with Relay.link. Relay is closing in on $10 billion transferred. Go to Relay.link to bridge your assets now.
Not your keys, not your coins. From the team that pioneered cold storage, Trezor has just released its new wallet. Guys, if you are still using hot wallets in 2025, 2026, you are missing the entire point. Secure your coins. Get a Trezor at Trezor.io.
The rise of stablecoins has given birth to stable chains. There's several of these. What is your take on the competitive landscape here as we're seeing more and more of these stable chains come live?
I think it's unclear yet, but I mean, my guess would be that this is all about distribution. So I would think like chains that have a particular advantage in distribution are the ones that are gonna make it, and the other ones I'm not sure. Like,
so we've got the whole cohort happening in distribution, more specifically payment providers, institutions, point of sale systems, regional dominance, combination of all these things.
Yeah, I mean, you need to work with those people who actually have like real pain points there. I don't think the thing like, oh, like let's put X on chain is like an interesting one. I think that never works. Like if you don't have a particular pain point why this has to be like a stable coin, for example, it's not going to do much.
All right, so Tempo is not launching a stable coin. You heard it here first. They're supporting all stable coins, though. Want to be kind of more agnostic, which is actually a different strategy than what we've seen from ARC and Plasma and Stable. I think Codex is probably more aligned with that.
And that's a credibly neutral stance. That's a value that comes from the Ethereum ecosystem. Is that where that philosophy comes from? This idea that it's better for us to support the entire breadth of stablecoins rather than launch our own?
Just a business decision.
Yeah,
not everything's philosophy here, Rob.
Well, that's my question. Is like, what is the business case to not right to support all of them instead of launching your own?
I mean, it depends what you want to do. And I think like this one, I can't actually speak for the business decisions. I won't.
All right, guys, we're going to talk about the upcoming Fusaka upgrade. Some context here from you, Dankrad. Your journey first started when you began working with the ETH team in 2018, later joining full in 2019. And basically this upcoming Fusaka upgrade will finally implement PeerDAS. We're going to get bigger blobs, more space. Tell us more about your work on Fusaka. What went into this upgrade, and why is it really important for Ethereum's Rollup-centric roadmap?
So the upgrade is the fundamental new thing that it introduces is like the idea of data availability sampling. So we have this data availability layer on Ethereum now, and at the moment it works by it's essentially just a mechanism to post all the data on chain, and that's like we kind of like as a first step, like that was like the EAP 4844 proto Danksharding. It introduced this idea of like separating it from the existing execution, so it's not as contentious anymore. But now for the first time, it will actually be scalable. So like what happens in Fusaka is that now like nodes don't have to process all this data anymore, and so we can put more data on chain than like was possible before, because not all nodes will now have to download this data. But they can still, through this mechanism, verify that all the data is available.
And so from like a tech perspective, effectively, you've got all this data that you need to verify its accuracy, and instead of having to go, verify every single line, every single block, you can basically take a random sampling mechanism and verify through that the data is indeed available and is basically saved from any data withholding attacks. And then why does that enable Ethereum to scale for higher throughput for L2s and cheaper gas costs.
For L2s, like the ones, so the rollups, the ones that post the data on the Ethereum chain, they can use this to basically like get cheaper data and post more data on chain. So yeah, we'll have much more transactional throughput. It is actually also important for the future of Ethereum. So like this year, we kind of made the decision that we'll start to scale the L1 as well. And so far that happens using like by improving the engineering, by optimizing things. So that's kind of like the plan for the first 2 years or so, to hopefully get to a scale of about 10x. And then like in the future, we want to use this additional technology, which like ZK-EVMs that basically allow us to verify the execution at scale. But they also suffer from this. Basically, you could say like the Ethereum L1 will itself become a rollup, right? Like, and so it also needs to post its data somewhere, and you need to be scalable. So otherwise, you'll just be limited by the data instead of the execution. And so like probably in a couple of years, like we will make use of the same layer to actually scale the L1 as well.
Yeah, and we're seeing this phenomena of rollups coming back to Ethereum. It feels like, they all kind of left. The execution was pushed off chain, but now the idea of native rollups and based rollups is bringing these rollups back to Ethereum, bring the sequencing back via based rollups, and then bringing the execution back via native rollups. When you talk about Ethereum becoming a rollup of its own, where does the data go? How might this affect the end user experience?
Well, I mean, that depends a lot, right? Like, I mean, I think like if you use Ethereum through an RPC, which is like 99% of all users, then it doesn't affect it at all. So if you run a node, for example, if you want to run a validator, then basically it will allow you to like run a much lighter node, because suddenly there are like a lot of things that you don't need to do anymore with your node. We can in principle get to a place like where you don't need to run this execution layer anymore, which is like 80% or so of the work right now. So like your node can become much lighter, while at the same time the scale becomes much larger. Now, if you want to run like your own node in order to like use that to use Ethereum, then it doesn't really help you that much, because now you still need to have the state around. We can probably get rid of the execution part, because we can just like post state diffs and that they're correct kind of. So like there are still improvements that you can get from it.
Part of the I guess message that we've heard this week, Rob, has been we need to improve finality in Ethereum. We've heard it from Luca from L2Beat, from the Arbitrum team, from the Optimism team. We had Espresso on yesterday that they're kind of like, well, that's us, but the Ethereum's kind of like, well, we don't want to give this to another L1. Why is finality such a big issue right now for Ethereum with regards to its roadmap? And we've heard a lot of these cries for help, if you will, and I sent a message to the EF chat, and I got some pushback saying like, look, the Ethereum Foundation isn't responsible for helping everyone's problems here. Maybe we should have a better way of approaching this. Let's talk about the issue. Let's talk about what the technical solution is, and then let's kind of think about how we implement.
Well, I mean, I actually think like there are actually 3 separate issues, and they all need to be addressed. So I separate into like there's the kind of like time to inclusion, how quickly. Well, actually, no. Sorry, the first one is actually time to get some type of confirmation. So like an optimistic confirmation. Then there's a time to inclusion. And then there's time to finality. And they all matter for different things. Like basically, time to get a pre-confirmation is like good for UX. The faster you can get this to a user, the better the user will feel about using the chain. Time to inclusion is basically how quickly can you, especially like time to inclusion for contentious transactions. For example, if you want to trade or something, right, then someone might exclude you intentionally because it is advantageous for them economically. So basically, how quickly can you get your transaction under adversarial conditions like this? That is very important for economics. Like that's, for example, important for the DEX economics. And then there's a time to finality, which depends a lot. Yeah, basically matters in a way, like in a very abstract sense for all L2s. Like in the broadest sense, you can include things like exchanges and so on, also in that category. Basically, anyone who interacts with the chain in like a hybrid way, right? And so they need finality in order to like be sure that, for example, they have taken custody of an asset or something. And yeah, I think like I mean my sense is we need to improve all of these a lot. I hope that Ethereum can get to 6-second block time sometime next year. That would be really good. So that would be a factor of 2 in all of them already. And then like on finality, we have like a lot of research in the works to like improve that massively. I think there are like at least 2 or 3 different efforts, and I think like we still have to figure out exactly which one will be the one to go with.
Finality is one of the things that we've heard. I'm curious, what from your perspective, what is the most significant technical bottleneck or limitation that Ethereum is still facing today that we should really prioritize and focus on?
I mean, the most difficult part in getting there. Well, I mean, actually, there are 2 things. Like basically, so Ethereum has for a very long time not done much work on the peer-to-peer layer. Like basically, when we launched the beacon chain, we just used libp2p. We were like, oh, it's great, like there's a ready library, a lot of projects are going to share it. That ended up not being true. Like Ethereum is by far the largest user of it, but it's not been adapted to Ethereum specific use case at all. And I think like we're changing that now. Like Raul joined the peer-to-peer team this year, or he actually like is kind of leading it. And so it's like, I mean, I think like we'll see hopefully like very big changes there, because I think there's like a lot of slack. So you can actually improve that a lot. And then the other big, I guess, like problem in a way that Ethereum faces is like we have this massive validator set. And so that makes like a lot of things a lot more difficult. Like a lot of things would be possible if you had like 1,000 validators.
Arguably too decentralized or too many validators?
I mean, like the thing is, it's not actually, we know there's only like 10,000 or 15,000 nodes. I don't know the exact number. So like right now, basically, like we have kind of, you could call them logical validators. Like in the consensus, we keep track of like more than 1 million entities, but they're not like real validators in the sense that they are independently managed. So like that's kind of unfortunately a problem. We're trying to fix that with a maxi-B, but I think the incentives are just not right to like get people to actually consolidate enough for it to make a difference.
Halliday is unified crypto payments. Give your users more wherever they are. Go to halliday.xyz to never write a smart contract again.
Looking for yield that stands out? infiniFi gives you just that. Deposit stablecoins and earn far more than the current savings rate. infiniFi is a battle-tested, reliable DeFi platform that is ready to go. Head to infinifi.xyz. Trade on anything. Economics, weather, sports, crypto, and more. All on Kalshi.com, 24/7 for the world's biggest prediction market. And in a tangent to that thought, what do you think about Justin Drake's lean Ethereum proposal and work? Is that what we need to scale the L1? What's your general thoughts there?
I think that's separate. So lean Ethereum is a big initiative on consensus, and I think like, I mean, so for me, like a very important part of it is like the post-quantum roadmap. Like that's absolutely very important that someone like really figures that out, how to do that. So that's amazing for lean Ethereum. My personal opinion on it is like I don't believe it should come as like one big upgrade, like the merge or something. I think like it's great that Justin tries to build this like consistent like chain, but I think like what we should probably try doing is to iteratively pick and choose the improvements that it brings to us and like bring them on a much shorter time scale to Ethereum.
I have a counterpart to my earlier question about like what the most problematic things about Ethereum are. Now I'm curious, the flip side of that, what do you think have been the most significant achievements or milestones in recent times that Ethereum has pushed Ethereum to its success?
Well, I mean, I think like, we did, like clearly there ended up problems with the Rollup centric roadmap, but I think like we did definitely execute on it, and it definitely like was in some sense a major success. Like that would not have existed without it. I think like to me personally, like what is closest to me, like I think like Fusaka is kind of the biggest upgrade in that. Is kind of
that's your baby, man.
In a way, yes, right.
Yeah,
very cool.
So within the lens of this finality conversation. It ties into Lean Ethereum a bit. It also ties into some of the prioritization. Let's say we get this right. We solve this finality issue here. What would that look like in a post-fast finality Ethereum world? Like not single slot times or single slot finality, but somewhere closer to where we are today. From our perspective, it would effectively enable a far better base layer for L2s. It would really facilitate a better Rollup-centric model. What actually technically would be better for developers, for users? Like in that world, what is going to be better for us?
In what world?
In the post-faster finality world.
Oh, right. I think it depends a lot. And I think like basically this is kind of like it will allow us to have much faster roll-up settlements and things like that. Now, the interesting thing is that right now, that's actually not even bottlenecked by L1 finality. It's bottlenecked by the proving times. So I think like right now, it's kind of, I think right now, the most significant thing you would get is like being able to deposit to exchanges more quickly. I think that's actually the biggest improvement you would see if you improve that right now.
But I think users are demanding that like 250-second millisecond confirmation time, like what they're used to on Hyperliquid or what they're used to on all L1s. And it feels like institutions are actually demanding the finality because they want confirmation and guarantees near instantly because that's effectively what they're used to getting in their world. Right? I mean, or something close to that. Like if I send you a Venmo, I know that it's sent. As soon as it's sent, it's like it's final.
Well, I mean, it's very clear that for institutions this is important. I mean, like I don't know if the premise that you're putting there is right because like actually the biggest problem that they often face is like the 2-day or 1-day settlement times, right?
Yes.
Which are much slower.
From a user perspective, it feels final.
And for the intra-institutional transfers, right? Venmo account to Venmo account all happens on the Venmo ledger. That they can process near instantly. When we're doing things on the Ethereum world or between different institutions, they're looking for a similar settlement time.
No, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's maybe not the best analogy.
I have a question about the ZK roadmap. Justin Drake has been talking about this, but it's part of the technical roadmap of Ethereum overall. One of the things that I've heard as a pushback to this has been that it would effectively king make one of these ZK-VMs, whether it's risk 0 or succinct or risk 5 or one of these. Is that the case, or is there something that we're kind of missing in the discourse where no, there's actually a more robust version of this that we're talking about including in the Ethereum protocol?
I mean, I think currently the plan is that there's not going to be a single ZK-EVM, but there's going to be a choice of several of them, similar to like the multi-client roadmap that they would like basically like it would be something like 2 out of 3 or 4 out of 5 or so.
Have to agree in order for the
exactly. Okay. Yeah, and I think that makes sense. I mean, like this is kind of like a debate that's ongoing. I mean, I would actually personally be for some king making there and actually be like making a choice. I think like there are other people who like say like, oh, it's like should be completely up to the user to choose which ones you want to trust and so on. I'm not that convinced of that way of things because I feel like the incentives are quite bad, but that's
I gotta ask, if you were in charge, like if you were just gonna,
I knew that was coming.
If you were king of Ethereum, right? I mean, you're father of Danksharding, but if you were king of Ethereum, which ZK-VM would you choose?
I don't think I would be ready to make that choice right now. I think it is kind of too early at this point. Like I don't think they're quite mature enough yet.
And to what metrics would you be looking at to determine the one that is ready for it?
There are several, of course. I mean, there's performance, but I think most importantly, and this one is like very, very hard to do, like it's just the maturity of the project, how certain you are. And again, I do agree that it shouldn't be one. I think like having like I think probably 2 out of 3 or something like is a great way of doing it.
On the lens of tempo, of institutions, of payments, of boring stuff, we get these weird like cycles of narratives in the space where something's really hot one year, takes like 5 years to actually build it out from the time that it was exciting, and then it becomes hot again. Privacy is here again for probably institutional reasons, for regulatory clarity reasons. Vitalik has came out and put a kind of a open statement to Ethereum saying, hey guys, here's our privacy kind of a roadmap. Maybe you could
Toolkit.
Yeah, maybe you could explain this toolkit, why this is important to Ethereum. Do you actually think it's going to get adopted? Like, what is this, where are we at?
I haven't looked that deeply into what Vitalik is building, but I do think that privacy is super important, and I think like it is the right push, and I think like I agree that like there are like a lot of things that seem right now, and I do think like also like I'm very happy that like the crypto community is like kind of getting much more mature about privacy, right? At picking the trade-offs, which are just there, right? Like I think like you cannot build a system that is like made for North Korea to launder hundreds of millions of dollars. Like we don't want that, but we do want like privacy and like and I think it's like, I mean, this is what I see, what people are building now, and that's amazing and that's great. And I think like also for Tempo, it's like super important. Like privacy will be like at the forefront of payments as well.
Yeah. Privacy for payments is a must.
Yes, absolutely.
When it comes to, we're going all over the topics here. We're just trying to fit as much of it in. I put out a tweet. I was like 4 of the top 10 rollups or L2s in Ethereum are stage 0. And I put this was a massive issue for Ethereum. Some people were like, dude, you're over exaggerating. Some people were like, this is huge. Like, this is a big problem. How much do you personally care about stage 0, stage 1, stage 2? And like, what would be your call to action to L2s as far as their progressive decentralization?
Yeah, I mean, this is very interesting because like, I think, I mean, my view has changed probably like a lot on this. And it diverges quite a bit from like the kind of like EF and maybe Vitalik's view on this. I think like basically what most rollups see and why they are like stage 0 or stage 1 is that building these bridges is really, really hard because like you basically, yes, like it's smart contracts, but it's like incredibly complex smart contracts. And now you have to suddenly say like 100%, like all the load goes on these. And the interesting thing is like when you actually start looking into it, it matters mainly for one thing, like for the ether that's bridged to the rollups, right? Like for other assets, we're now seeing the trend that they are just issued like on like natively anywhere, and like for the real world assets, like in the end that just makes sense. I mean, I do think there's like a world where like we start seeing direct like equities directly being rooted on some chain, and that's great, and we should work towards that. I do think that's like decades away realistically. Like I mean, the DTCC is still keeping paper certificates in safes. Like this is how slow like these things change, like these laws change. So I think like for a very long time we'll see these more like indirect solutions where you have a company that keeps the security somewhat custodially and then issues an asset on chain, and obviously they can issue that on many chains and they get great advantages from it because now, well, they don't have to trust the bridges. Like basically the node software is way more mature, and that's like what these rollups rely on for these assets, and they can then do mint and burn bridges, which are like much faster than anything else that exists.
The pushback for the stage 2 in the context of what you're describing here as far as the different use cases has been, if there's a bug, there's a bug and there's no squashing of that bug.
I mean, that doesn't have to be exactly true, right? Like you have these constructions like where you have a security council that can only intervene if there's an actual bug, but like it's very, very hard to actually do all this. Yeah.
But from stage 0 to 1, it feels like we got to get there for next year. Like all the big chains need to be at stage 1.
You talked a little bit about the Ethereum Foundation's, transition over some several months. We're calling this a bullish reversal. Like there was, 6 months to 9 months. Yeah.
And the stops.
We've also kind of said that Ethereum's it's in wartime mode, and feels like now is the time to ship. Now is the time to make positive change. Would you agree? Would you say Ethereum is in wartime mode?
My honest opinion is it's like, yes, it has like started going there, but I don't think it's enough. Like, I think like my opinion would be, we need to do a lot more. And I think like there started to be pushback, and I think like basically people start, oh, do we really need to do that much? And I'm like, I think we need to do more personally, but that's my opinion.
All right. Dankrad, we got a couple fun things for you. First thing is we're building a Spotify playlist this week for all of our guests. And I'd like to ask you what song you'd like to add to the Spotify playlist.
Oh my God.
I'll give you a chance to think about it. Whether it's a favorite song, a song you've heard here, something that you've been enjoying lately. What would be your song?
Wow, I don't know.
What kind of music do you typically listen to normally?
Who's your artist of choice? Are you like a rock and roll? Or are you like lo-fi? Or?
I'm now like, actually, I mainly listen to lo-fi these days, but right, so I don't have a specific song though. It's just like I just go on Spotify and find a lo-fi playlist.
We'll add a nice little lo-fi. This one's called I'm Yours. Lo-fi Fruits. We also have a gift for you, Dankrad.
Okay.
We'd like to present this to you, and I think you'll enjoy it because on the show we've been kind of pioneering this idea of return to fundamentals, and so we've brought this as our slogan of the show because to us it feels like the entire space is evolving into a build something real, really get something done. That's probably a lot of the reason why you're going to work at Tempo. So talk to us about what return to fundamentals means to you in the lens of your personal career, your journey, and your future work.
Actually, to be honest, I feel like I've always been very much a fundamentals guy. I think my views probably haven't changed that much, but I would say like probably like at the beginning I was probably much more careful about it because like I didn't really there was a lot of things going on in crypto, and maybe like a lot of it was like I don't understand that, to be honest. I don't know why this is valuable, and I think like in a way I'm feeling much more comfortable in an environment that is much more about fundamentals.
All right, 60 seconds, Dankrad, lightning round. Question 1, rank these 3 trade-offs: speed, scale, security.
Security, speed, scale.
Fill in the blank. Ethereum is blank.
The future of finance.
What do people fundamentally misunderstand about you, Dankrad?
Probably that I have taken a particular role for the Ethereum ecosystem, but like I think like it has to be seen relative to like what exists, rather than like this is like fundamentally like I'm like only about make it fast, and I'm very much pro security and everything. Yeah.
Is Ether money?
As it is used right now, no. But it could be.
What is your biggest sleeper project or protocol in the Ethereum community?
Skip.
If you could deliver one message to the Ethereum community, what would it be?
You gotta fight for finance on Ethereum.
Dankrad Feist, live from Rollup TV, lightning round. Thank you, Dankrad. It's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming on.